Good morning and welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino. Well, this morning the main story is clearly the coastal low that is starting to develop off the North Carolina coast. We have an area low pressure down to 1004 millibars, and I'm expecting that low pressure system to intensify and the pressure drop down below 998 millibars, making for a relatively strong low pressure system. Notice the cold front over the Great Lakes. That's basically our polar disturbance that will keep this whole storm moving relatively quickly. Could see a secondary wave of low pressure develop late tonight into early tomorrow morning, keeping the threat of rain in the forecast into tomorrow morning's rush hour. But overall, this is going to be a fast moving yet heavy rain producing storm. Let's take a look at the latest satellite picture. This is the infrared satellite picture, and basically what it shows are the temperature of the cloud tops with storms. The colder the cloud top, the higher the cloud is in the atmosphere, and the higher the cloud is in the atmosphere, the stronger the lifting. As we can see, we have very cold cloud tops that are developing over much of the mid-Atlantic back to the eastern Great Lakes. Notice the sharp cutoff over the eastern Great Lakes down through the Ohio Valley. That's basically the influence of the cold front that is over the Great Lakes. That's our sharp cutoff between the storm that's developing off the coast and the polar disturbance approaching that disturbance. And eventually, all these disturbances will merge into one storm, which is why this storm is going to intensify. But I wanted to show this because notice that not only do we have a batch of colder cloud tops over the northern mid-Atlantic right now, which is producing our heavy rain, but we have a second area of cold cloud tops developing over the southeast. That's going to be our second batch of moderate to heavy rain later on this afternoon on through tonight. On the radar, we clearly see plenty of moderate to heavy rain throughout the entire Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. This rain is not going to be ending anytime soon. Watch out for pockets of very heavy rain that can reduce visibility below 4 miles and also produce moderate to major ponding on the roadways. So take your time this morning. There's no reason to rush. And this evening with the rush hour, take your time as well. Expect a few delays or a lot of delays, especially with this type of heavy rain. The main word here is use caution. The good news is that, hey, it's too warm for any snow, at least for now. I'll show that in a few minutes. But the good news again is that this rain is going to be moving relatively quickly. Rain throughout today, and then by tomorrow morning the rain will start to taper off and exit into the Atlantic. I wanted to bring up the water vapor here also just to show we have our one disturbance over the Gulf of Mexico. We have our other disturbance over the Great Lakes. That disturbance over the Great Lakes is our polar disturbance, and now they're both starting to merge into one large trough. Beforehand there was a clear separation between these two disturbances, and now we're starting to see the trough becoming deeper, and as a result these two disturbances are starting to interact in phase. And as that continues, we'll see that the coastal low off the North Carolina coast will begin to really intensify later on this morning into this afternoon, with significant lifting along the mid-Atlantic coast, producing moderate to heavy rainfall for this afternoon and evening. As you can see, by Saturday, this is the European model guidance from Penn State EWAL, by the way. This storm has still not really left the northern mid-Atlantic. In fact, we have a deep trough throughout the northeast and down through the southern mid-Atlantic. What impacts will this have? Well, let's take a look at an 850 millibar map. The key thing to realize here is that we have plenty of low and mid-level moisture sitting over the northern mid-Atlantic. We also happen to have very cold air. This black line is the 0 degrees Celsius line at 850 millibars, and anything below that line is below freezing. So any type of shower that develops more than likely is going to be mixed with some snow, especially in your higher elevations. So through this weekend, look for the potential for isolated snow showers, especially over the northwestern interior, like northeastern Pennsylvania, northwestern New Jersey, the Hudson Valley. No significant accumulation, but you'll definitely notice this in the air. As far as the coast, rain showers could be mixed with a few snow showers at times, especially in the late evening when temperatures really start to drop. And as far as the weekend, as far as temperatures, Well, I don't think anyone's going to confuse this weekend with anything we've seen recently. In other words, it is going to be cold. Temperatures are going to struggle in the 40s, and with winds from the northwest anywhere from 5 to 15 to 10 to 20 miles per hour throughout the region, wind chills are actually going to feel like they're in the 30s. So yeah, winter's on the way, definitely. Well, we are in early November. Usually we see this in late November, so winter's starting to get a little bit of a head start on itself. Now, this trough is not going to leave very quickly. As we move through the week, we'll see that this trough is not leaving at all, actually. Here we are by Wednesday night, and the trough is still there. It's a little bit off the coast. Now, the trough is being enhanced, and the upper low is being enhanced actually by the remnants of Tropical Storm Tomas. Because Tomas is interacting with this upper low, it intensifies the storm because you're adding latent heat energy into the storm. And as a result, you get this low pressure system just sitting off of the New England coast. And that means a northwesterly flow, at least aloft, and at the mid levels from this upper level low. Now, a few interesting points I want to make. One, the GFS really isn't picking this up very well. The European model guidance, obviously, the UK Met, and the Canadian model guidance is kind of picking up on this threat. And given on the recent trends, I'm leaning more on the European model guidance, considering the dynamics in play with the tropical Atlantic. Saying that, this is going to be an interesting dynamic to watch because we have our southeast ridge trying to build because we have a trough in the west, but the influence of that ridge is going to be pushed down into the southern mid-Atlantic and into the Ohio Valley, which means that we're going to be in a bit of a battleground between the cool Atlantic air mass and polar air mass that's going to be sitting over the northern mid-Atlantic and the warmer air mass, almost tropical-like, over the southeast. At 850 millibars, we see a clear divide in the air masses. We have a marine air mass trying to build into the New York City metropolitan area and a drier air mass over the Philadelphia metropolitan area. What does this basically mean? It basically means somewhere next week we're going to have a stationary front sitting over the northern Atlantic. Now, for right now, I have a dry forecast because based on most of the model guides, we have high pressure relatively close to the region. However, if I continue to see this type of setup in the model guidance, and we start to see the evolution of the storm play out over the Canadian Maritimes, then we're going to have to consider more clouds and a better potential chance of rain, at least for Long Island, Connecticut, and parts of New York City. This interaction between the cool air and the warm air to the south is going to be a very telling setup for this coming winter. I'll just say that. Because, again, this kind of shows you what happens when you kind of get a negative NAO pattern. What would normally happen if this was a positive NAO pattern, in other words, we had a ridge over the northwestern Atlantic, what you would get is that the southeast ridge would build out throughout the entire country, throughout the East Coast. Very warm conditions would play out, and we remain, above normal for next week. Instead, well, with this upper level low in place, it becomes a little bit more tricky. Temperatures are more likely to be below normal, especially as you move further east. And there's a higher interaction of these air masses producing showers, overcast conditions. So this forecast is a bit volatile right now. So we're going to have to keep an eye on exactly how this storm develops. So the basic rule for next week is that the further west you are, the better chance you'll see clear skies, comfortable conditions, temperatures near normal. The further east, towards Long Island, Connecticut, especially towards southern New England, you're more likely to end up with below normal temperatures, overcast to broken clouds, and a threat of showers each day. So we'll keep an eye on this storm. Like I said, the position of this storm is going to be key. The further east this storm is, the more likely you'll have high pressure and generally comfortable conditions for much of next week. So we'll have to certainly keep an eye on this situation. So thank you for trusting NYNJPA Weather for your weather needs for the northern mid-Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino. Stay safe out there and watch out for that heavy rain. Don't drive too fast. Have a great day.